Change is upon us every day, and we don't even know it. Today, we've built our entire business around technology. Everyone in this room. But tomorrow, how relevant that technology is and how we connect and integrate with it can be as fleeting. If you look at where we come from as a human race, age after age causes significant disruption. From the Stone Age to the modern age, each new technological innovation has resulted in some huge impact to labor. These significant labor impacts have not only impacted in the modern day our economy, but have caused wars that have created change. And if you feel that I'm being dramatic, just think about it. If you look at the industrial age, machines had a huge impact on labor during World War II, caused significant depression and unemployment. Each age, from the information age as well, where technology and the internet has brought opportunity, but at the same point, tremendous change. The digital age brings us that same opportunity, but also not without some cost. And in particular, automation is displacing human labor. Many of us, in the early days, some 20 years ago, were told you're taking jobs to India, you're taking jobs to Latin America, you're taking work away from this country. But today, those same jobs are also being disrupted by digital technology and automation, by the cloud, by applications that reside ubiquitously. So this is the age that we live in today. And so let's take a look at some of the trends. Now the data is very hard to get a hold of, I will tell you, but we don't have to see the data to actually understand what's going on around us. When I started my career, I had an assistant that was typing on an IBM Selectric typewriter. That doesn't exist anymore. Telex machines do not exist anymore. Analog telephones do not exist anymore. All within the lifetime of most of us in this room. And so the traditional jobs of assistants, typists, bank tellers. How many of you have gone to a bank teller recently? You got 5 stations and 1 person standing there. They expect to drive you to the ATM machine, right? What about the grocery store? You got 7 stations. They're all closed and they want to drive you towards self-checkout. I hate that. So all of this automation is causing labor disruption. And we have, as responsible members of society, have to figure out how to solve it. And that is what we saw yesterday for those of you that were there at the Avasant golf event. So we call this, not to bring everybody down in this very exciting event, the die scenario, the irrelevant human factor in the digital age. Automation and robotics will replace 50% of North America manufacturing. Now, it's already happening today. We're talking about manufacturing coming back to the United States, but it's coming back in the form of automation. 75% of all consumer transactions will be completed with no physical human interaction. I just ask any of my children, if they have to call for any kind of self-help, they want to do it online. They don't want to talk to a human being. That human being is unreliable. For most of us, when we call, we want a human being because we perceive that to be reliable. Those thought processes have changed. Digital fulfillment, 3D printers, and self-driving cars and trucks are also impacting this change, right? And it's destabilizing labor markets. And so much so that when we talk about supply chain and manufacturing in China and shipping goods and all the jobs that are created along the way, from the shipper to the trucker to the retailer, today and tomorrow, for printing those small items that we used to get for $2 in the store, now printing it on our desk, that entire supply chain is gone. Advanced analytics and decision making is also impacting knowledge workers for tomorrow. And growth and employment will be further disconnected. This is what we call the jobless recovery. We haven't really put two and two together, but a jobless recovery means we continue to grow as businesses, but there's no place for human beings. So this is what we call the die scenario. Now, as a management consulting firm, we are presented with these business issues that impact our clients every day. And we see it with some of our clients today, still, in 2015, where they are letting people go, where they're moving to automation, and it's impacting those individuals. But what's the positive side of that coin? Well, with every change comes innovation and opportunity. We believe digital business will drive over $2 trillion in additional GDP by 2020, with economic growth being linked to this opportunity and a multiplying effect. Emerging markets will be able to completely skip the steps that the developed world has gone through. And that will be in not just in manufacturing, but also in transportation as well, and key sectors and industries, which will ultimately create opportunities for all of us as well. New digital value chains, which is a word that I'm going to be using, digital value chains through social media, analytics, cloud. These digital value chains are going to allow us to communicate better. They're going to create more opportunities for us in business. And ultimately, they're going to allow our clients to achieve their sales and marketing and business objectives. Finally, the digital economy, as it's growing, will help us bridge that gap. So you might ask, why does a sourcing advisory firm care so much about this gap? Because we intend to exploit it. We intend to take advantage of it. Today, you're going to learn about outsourcing advisory from Avasant's perspective. And it's not just about driving the same transactions or driving the same paper. Today's transactions involve a multitude of technology. It might be cloud-based technology, it could be some type of social media, it could involve a marketing component. And the integration of that around a transformation strategy is what our clients are interested in. And increasingly, this is not just talk, by the way, because as soon as we have this conversation with our clients, they say, oh my God, we're doing it wrong. Not another failed transition, not another failed outsourcing deal. We need to source smart. We need to bring your excellence, that is yours as service providers that are delivering this service, bring your excellence to us. And that's our challenge. Our challenge is to understand what you're doing, how you're working, your new technologies, and bring them to bear. And we're learning. We're learning along with you. So how do we reconcile these two futures? Every individual and device will be digital. We talked about getting everyone a Go key today, right? That's basically, the heart monitor. It's a pedometer. It's all in one. And essentially, this device interacts with your iPad and your iPhone, and it sends all your health information in violation of, I'm sure, all kinds of HIPAA regulations to the cloud somewhere. I'm sure you're going to accept somewhere that you're okay with it along the way. But today, you can't have any new technology that is not wireless Wi-Fi in the cloud somewhere with your data, and we're all digitally connected as a result of it. Every business strategy will be a digital business strategy. So on the healthcare side, if you're a hospital, you're looking to do what? What's the future? We spoke to some of the executives at Hoag Hospital. What they want to do is they want to implant, put a monitor on people, especially long-term patients, and get them out of the hospital. How many of you have heard about the superbug? Hear about the superbug? People dying in Los Angeles because they went to the hospital and contracted something that could not be cured. Hospitals today don't want you in the hospital. If they need to monitor you, it is ideal for you to be walking the streets and they call you up, Mr. Parikh, you're about to have a heart attack in 30 minutes. Please come to the office. And that's where we're moving, and that's the digital-enabled person. That's the digital-enabled business strategy as well, right? Every government policy will be a digital government policy. And that's the same thing. How are we going to interact with civilians, with consumers, with people? And that is taking technology as we've known it from an infrastructure standpoint or from a BPO standpoint or a process standpoint back to the business. I started by talking about Charles Darwin and all the life forms that are extinct today, 99% of those that have lived on Earth. What do you think is going to happen to the CIO? Well, 25 years ago, there was no CIO. Certainly not 30 years ago. Because the chief operating officer, the chief financial officer, and everyone else ran the business. And it is not that the CIO is going away. We've been all talking about that for years. The role will exist, but it'll be reintegrated back into the business. And I can only tell you how many CIOs we talk to, raise your hand, are frustrated because somebody bought an application with a credit card and didn't tell them. Right? Stop being frustrated. Join them. Because this is the future. So every IT organization must become a digital organization. Here is the transformation. Whether from an IT side, whether it's service desk, end user computing, data center operations, voice and network, all experiencing significant disruption. You see the disruption coming from below through automation, unified communication, cloud solutioning, voice over IP, software-defined networks. That disruption is changing our business. Some of you may say, Kevin, you're full of crap. We do not need to change. Just look at the numbers. Some of you will say, if we don't change the way we deliver today, we're out of business. So, this disruption, like all others, will have to be addressed. What does this mean for traditional legacy sourcing models? Legacy sourcing models which focus on labor-driven solutions and capital-intensive investments, in my personal opinion, in my company's opinion, in a growing opinion, I would imagine in this room, are dead deals. We're going to sign a few for the next 5 years or so. But the sourcing deals of the future will change. And they will change by enabling the business to create revenue and drive opportunity. And why is that great for our business? How many of you have been excited about taking cost out of a business? Is that really very exciting? We have an opportunity to drive revenue. So for the first time, this industry is being asked to create value instead of reduce cost. And that excites me, and it should excite all of you. But it's a grand challenge for our industry to survive. Let's talk a little bit how the sourcing market is transforming. So between 2011 and 2014, we tracked 211 Avasant contracts. If you look at competitive RFP, and what is a competitive RFP? That is a competitive RFP with incumbents, okay? If you kind of look at it, it's about 120 of the 211 deals fall into that category. Now, if you look at prior years, 2008 to 11, to help you read this, it's way down, okay? And that's somewhere around 35 or so. So what's happening now? Clients are basically taking the position, we're second and third generation outsourcing deal. We're happy with our incumbents. They may not be perfect, but when we run an RFP process, we're going to invite them and only them. All right? Now, competitive RFPs that are open. Open means that anybody can bid. Look at that. 35 out of 211. And by the way, that number's falling. And by the way, over 60% of those deals were public sector deals. Does everybody, am I the only one shaking in the room? This is big news, right? Because for those of you that came here thinking Avasant is going to introduce me to the next RFP, I will only tell you that we will likely only have one opening because clients in a field of 3 to 4 are choosing between incumbents. But what we can help you do is help you transform those deals, innovate those deals, create functioning, long-term relationships with clients where you offer high value and are successful. And that is where I believe the opportunity is. There will always be invites. And you know, out of 3 to 4, in an RFP competitive landscape, 3 to 5 competitors, we can usually bring in 1, but we can't bring in 5. And in 2002, 2003, we were recommending all of those spots. And today the clients already have a sense of who they're going to work with. Look at Solesource. 56 out of 211 contracts today, as compared to less than 30, okay, just a few years ago. Clients want a sole source increasingly. And believe me, it's happening, and that number is growing. And we see that trend only rising. That's good news for some of you. That's not good news for others of you, but that's just the fact, okay? These are the numbers. Percent of Avasant deals by practice: sourcing, digital transformation, globalization. Globalization is originally our captive center and go-to-market practice. That's shrinking for us. Our transformation practice is growing, the digital practice is growing, sourcing is remaining steady, still representing about 60% of what Avasant does. But within sourcing, we are seeing a mix of how clients are buying services, and they're very keen on getting technology and business advice from us. 2014 year-to-date, percent of Avasant-led deals by vertical. I thought this would be of interest to you. This is really just 2014. The truth is this number changes year over year. And of course, if you talk to our competition, they might have a different mix. What I can tell you is increasingly our deals at Avasant, over 90% of them or so, are referral-based, okay, where we're getting some connection via a reference client, CEO, or others, in some cases all of you. 2011 to 2014, first generation outsourcing versus second generation plus outsourcing deals, 78%. This is just our data, are now second generation deals. I don't think that's a surprise to any of you, okay? But just our trends. So how is Avasant adapting to these emerging models? Well, it really boils down to the following 3 items. We're focusing on digital business strategy. We're focusing on operations efficiency and effectiveness, and that includes cost reduction, which is still an important factor going forward, and service delivery effectiveness through outsourcing. So outsourcing is not dead. The way that we approach the deals is changing. And I think that's the story for the day. And it's not because we're just trying to be a transformational business. The clients are driving us to it. So with that, Avasant has 4 primary practice areas, which you're going to hear from today. Digital business services, business and IT transformation, and strategic sourcing. The globalization practice, which primarily focuses on nation states and captive center strategies, will not be a focus of today's event, but feel free to ask about it. We're happy to talk about it. It's not as relevant today, probably, for our conversation. One final thought with all this change. It is not the strongest of the species that survive, but the ones with the most responsiveness to change. Charles Darwin. Think about that. Henry Ford said, if I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have asked for faster horses. We don't know or understand the change that's coming. I can't help but hear from everyone, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and this is where the world's taking us. I sit humbly before you today saying, I don't know where it's going, nor does my company, but we are investing. And we will be on the edge of the curve. Late Steve Jobs said, "You can't just ask customers what they want and then try to give it to them. By the time you get it built, they want something new." As an industry together, we will have to be prepared for this change. And that means your sourcing transactions, we are going to drive you to be more flexible. We are going to drive you to be more business engaging. You're going to learn also more about how we do that today. And hopefully, through this event and more to come, we'll all build that relationship together. I believe in 5 years, probably sooner, the role of the sourcing advisor will change. And the old sourcing advisor, which I was at one point in my career, which was primarily a deal jockey, is going to shift to a deal maker. And as we make deals, we build the future for our clients. So with that, I thank you, and I look forward to the day, and I look forward to meeting all of you, and I know it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. So thank you for your attention.